Welcome to the Homegrown Haven. There's a few generations of us living here, all under one roof. Well, mostly. We are renovating our 3-bedroom bungalow, room by room, and learning as we go. We've just finished building an annex out the side of the bungalow, which is now home to my grandma. It's given her space, independence, and still keeps her right at the heart of everything we're doing here. And then there's the land, about an acre that we're turning into a proper kitchen garden. The goal is simple: grow more of our own food, waste less, and figure things out as we go. It's not always smooth, and it's definitely not for everyone, but it works for us. If you're into renovations, gardening, or just curious about a different way of living, you're in the right place.
Well, hello and welcome back to our little piece of paradise. Right, I've mentioned in the previous episode we're going away in a caravan for a week. So everything this week is about preparing the garden and the greenhouse for me not to be here. Now that's not unusual because we used to go away quite regularly in the caravan when I had an allotment. And of course Charlotte and Carl, well, Carl is only here at the weekends, so there is somebody here. But Charlotte has work and a 2-year-old, so really everything needs to be self-sufficient. And that's what I'm doing this week, so let's have a look at that. Slowly the beds are filling, but I do believe, as I said before, that I will have spare space. So the greenhouse is emptying. The blackbirds continue to be a problem, and I know I'm labouring the point, but the latest is these hanging baskets. I've planted petunias in them, and every hour in the last day or two they've been coming along and pulling the petunias out, and I find them on the floor. I've lost a couple because I haven't spotted it overnight and the roots have dried up, but I've now got to put some chicken wire over these because they're pulling them out. I know I'm paranoid, but it's almost like it's deliberate. They're like, there's 5 or 6 of them, and they're vandals, and it's almost as if they're doing it to taunt me. You know, if I could get my hands on them, and I don't care that they're protected. My vegetable garden needs protecting. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to put some chicken wire on those. Let's move on from the bloody blackbirds. In fact, as I speak, look, I'm being watched. I'm not paranoid, they're out to get me. So the 2 tables have now come out the greenhouse and been replaced with the tomato frames. And in front of the tomatoes I've now planted the peppers. I still have tomatoes that are germinating in the house on the windowsill, so I have some space here, and I'm also trying to create 2 of those beefsteak tomatoes by taking off the side shoots and putting them in a pot and watering them. I mean, they're a bit small, I should have left them a bit longer, but we'll see. I've never done it before. If it works, it would be wonderful. So tomatoes, cucumbers, I've got 4 cucumber plants at the end, and the tomatoes I've got, they're all in, and then the rest of the space is taken up with a lot of basil, lettuce, spring onions, garlic. Yeah, the greenhouse is in good order. I'm already looking to midsummer and autumn. You've got to stay one season ahead in this game. So I've got Calabrese, purple sprouting broccoli, autumn cabbages, there's more lettuce there, but yeah, I'm already thinking, and these are the, sorry, I'll finish my sentence, I'm already thinking of autumn. These are the surviving pumpkin seedlings that I pulled out of the compost bay. They've looked fantastic, I'm really pleased with them. Now I've already got enough, but these are going to be held as my reserves. In fact, I've just realised I've got 4 more peppers. Who put them there? So they need to go in the greenhouse somewhere. But it's looking great in here, and I'm very happy that I've got more coming up behind, ready to go in when I start to take crops out, like the broad beans, for example. Oh, this one cucumber plant is doing extremely well. so much so that there are small embryonic cucumbers on it. However, another little trick I've learned from watching Charles Dowding, those early ones he chops off. The theory being, if the plant is allowed to develop those cucumbers, it will put all the effort into growing those very large fruit, and the plant won't develop itself. So at this early stage, the priority is for the plant to develop and climb this cane with the view to future fruit. So I shall get a pair of scissors and just nip those cucumbers off. Got to be cruel to be kind. So these are out hardening off. They are pumpkins, butternut squash and courgettes. I read it, or I watched it somewhere, that you shouldn't plant out these plants until they've got 4 true leaves, which makes perfect sense to me. So if I take one as an example, this one is a courgette. That's what, these are the 2 seed leaves, and there's 1, 2, and there's the 3rd true leaf just coming out now. So I've got to wait another week or 2 until all of these plants have got 4 true leaves. That fits perfectly with us coming back from our caravan trip in about, I don't know, 2 weeks time, 10 days, 2 weeks. Then they can all go out, as can the tomatoes. I was toying with the idea of putting them out before we go away, but some of the nighttime temperatures are still around the 5 degrees centigrade mark, so it's just a bit too cold for tomatoes. So these can continue to stay in the greenhouse and be cosseted, and they'll go out when I get back. Planted these beetroot today, and you can see some more onion sets that I put in the ground a week ago. And that's the only way to stop the blackbirds digging them up, is to put wire or mesh or some barrier over the crop. Otherwise they come along and they pull them out to get the grubs from underneath. So I'm slowly losing crops to the blackbirds. I've lost a couple of those petunias already. I've lost quite a few onions, and I've lost quite a few beetroot. Now I've got enough, but that's not the point. Yeah, it's a shame, but everything's going to have to be covered if I want it to survive. It's very exciting to see peas, pea pods. We're not going to get a massive crop from this first sowing, but there'll be enough to put on a few dinner plates for a few dinners, and that's all we want really. If I can, I'll freeze some for the winter, but these really are about eating fresh. How lovely it is not to have any black fly on the plot. I've said before, this is our first year here growing food, so the black fly and all the other pests other than blackbirds haven't found us yet, but they will in time. But for now, I'm enjoying the fact that these broad bean plants are very, very clean and healthy. Couldn't look better. This is the first time I've ever truly done no dig properly. And there's 2 things that Charles Dowding speaks about that I have found true. One is, he says you get much less slugs and snails. We haven't had any yet. And you don't get weeds, and we haven't. So now that may change when we start using our own compost, but for now I occasionally have to go around with a chisel and lever some annual weeds out of the paths, but if I was on my allotment now, I'd have to get that net off once a week and weed, and I'm not having to do that, so I'm very happy with that. This is my arty-farty side. I've saved some of these plastic terracotta looking pots, and I've planted some pelargoniums in them for a bit of a summer display, and this is the bench that came out of the greenhouse. So yeah, very arty-farty. Rather pleased with myself. And these cosmos, the last few times I've grown cosmos, they've never flowered. They've grown into absolute triffids, but never developed flowers. We shall see. Well, the salad potato Charlotte have all been well earthed up with grass clippings only. And I did warn myself that the grass, because it heats up, may cause some issues, and you can see that there is some burning on the plants, but again, I don't think it's terminal, and I think they'll recover. My only concern, my only reservation, is that you can see down through the plant, and I'm just thinking, if that starts to develop potatoes, will they be exposed to the light? Are the grass clippings good enough to eliminate light from the potatoes? So I think I'm going to have to do a bit more earthing up, and then we'll see. But it's a bit of a risk with 42 potatoes. That would be a hell of a loss of crop if I get this wrong. We shall see. This is the asparagus bed with the chicken wire on that was put on the moment the asparagus plants went in. Still no sign of any new growth, nothing coming up. I always worry too much about this stuff. I'm sure they'll come up in time, but you know, people have been picking asparagus now for a couple of weeks. Why aren't they growing? We'll see. Patience, Martin. Well, the forget-me-nots were a pleasant surprise. They were obviously here before us. But I brought the comfrey with me, pleased with that, and I brought the poached eggplants. And as I've said before, I've left a sort of a runway along the hedge line for the hedgehog to move about. Haven't seen him for a while, but I can see his evidence on the lawn occasionally. I'm enjoying how the pond bed is developing. Got gladioli coming up, dahlias, the peonies are about to start flowering, salvias, and then the aubrietia that we planted around the edge that will hopefully drape down over the rock face. But yeah, this promises great things for the summer. And what else have we been planting? We've made a modest start on the border that is adjacent to the home lodge. So lupin, scabious, lavender, lilac. So we've decided to go with a pink-purple theme. The reason for that is it ties in with the very pleasant surprise of these alliums that have come up in the bed, and then the other lilac further down the garden. So yeah, a very modest start, but that's what it is, a start. Breaking the wall up nicely, and the turf is blending in as I knew it would. You wouldn't believe that work that went on here in the winter, would you now? I was interested to see that this wisteria that we chopped to the ground has sprouted. So I'm going to try and do something with that, just out of interest. Train it up something. Right, I said at the beginning that this week was about preparing for me to be away, and I think I'm pretty much there. One of the things that's going to help is the poor weather. We do get sunshine. I mean, sometimes when the sun comes out it gets quite hot, which is very pleasant. But generally speaking, for example, today the top temperature will be 13 degrees C. Tonight the temperature's dropped to 3 degrees C. So it's a real headache. But for the week I'm away, I can't realistically ask Charlotte to come down and take everything out in the morning and put it all back at night, because she's got a 2-year-old in tow. It would be calamitous. So it'll all be okay. Carl will be back after a couple of days and he can water everything in here if it needs it. I suspect it won't need it. We'll see. But anyway, I'm fairly happy that I've done what I can, and everything will be fine. Actually, my experience of growing fruits and vegetables is the least you have to do with things, the better they are. Anyway, I'm fairly happy. Whether or not Carl and Charlotte post a video next week remains to be seen. That's up to them. So my input on the channel finishes here for the next week or two. So whatever you're doing, enjoy your gardens, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.